Should we call it a day? Nah, let's call it a night. Welcome to the Say Canard Files, a Darkwing Duck podcast. I'm your host, Will Santana, and
I'm Mike Russo, and some vices require particularly close attention.
So how's everything going, Mike?
It's good. We're recording this the day after 4th of July. It was a pretty mellow one this year, but, it's nice. I go back to work tomorrow, so, nice to be relaxed a bit. How about you?
I'm good. Just a little exhausted, man. Did some yard work. Had an interview to do Friday. It was a weird one. It was a video interview where basically, I had to have my webcam on me, but I also had to have my hair cut. I had to be shaved, and I had to be dressed. I had to be dressed, with a tie, shirt, suit, all that kind of stuff, and answer 5 questions. It was weird because I wasn't talking to anybody, just looking at a camera. So it was really weird doing that. And then it was kind of weird because as I got dressed and I saw myself on the camera, I thought I looked clean and everything, but my wife came out really quick just, to make sure everything was good. She was like, "Hey, we're going to stay in the room so you can do your interview." But she was like, "Why you got on shorts?" And I was like, "Cause they can't see my legs."
It's a video interview. What's the
point? And she was like, "It just looks really weird." And she was like, "It makes sense, but it just looks really weird." But other than that, man, Mike, in 2 weeks, I'm supposed to be heading to Huntsville for a convention. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not excited about it. 14 people have dropped out. 14 celebrity guests have dropped out in the last week and a half. So obviously the celebrities don't want to be there. We don't want to be there.
I don't blame anybody.
But there is a few buts. Billy West is going to be there. So I feel I have to go because I never know when this opportunity could come again,
Yeah, I'm surprised though.
Yeah, so he has not backed out yet. So I definitely want to go just because of Billy West. I'm a huge fan of Doug. I loved Woody Woodpecker growing up, so I gotta go.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Futurama too. And
Futurama.
Ren and Stimpy as well,
yeah, he was Fry on Futurama. He
Zoidberg.
was Bugs Bunny on Space Jam. We can go on and on. We'll be here all day.
Guy's been Elmer Fudd for over 25 years.
Yeah, so I definitely want to meet him. The guy who's hosting the convention refuses to cancel it or postpone it. He just refuses.
Probably would lose money at the venue if he did.
Yeah, a lot of people are arguing with him to just push it back later in the year if he can. But, sometimes there's contracts involved. It may not be that easy. I don't know. I don't work for them behind the scenes, but it's not looking good. But me and my buddy Joe said we would go anyway just to meet Billy West and get these autographs. And then we're just going to probably walk around the vendor room maybe once or twice, and then we're done. We're getting the heck out of there.
Do your best to social distance and wear a mask if you can and get in and out.
Yeah, man. I might have to get one other autograph. Our buddy Stan wants me to get him the Red Ranger. I don't know his name. I'm not a Power Ranger guy, so please don't attack. Please don't attack me.
We know how much you love Power Rangers, Stan, so
yeah.
I'm never a fan, but
All right, so it's Mike, man. Where can the people who are listening to us for the first time, where can they find us, man?
We are so fortunate to be on every major podcast app. But we're on Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, iTunes. We're on Pocket Cast, Radio Public. Of course, we have videos up on YouTube. I will continue to plug that virtual panel to the end of time because you did such a good job on that. Mm-hmm. Pandora, iHeartRadio, and of course, if you have an Amazon Alexa, just ask that to play the most recent episode. I think I got them all, but there's more than that. So if you don't listen to any of those apps, you probably could still listen to it on something else. Mm-hmm. And you got any shout outs today, Will?
Well, got to give a shout out to Stan Lund. He is now an editor on our Facebook page. So shout out to Stan. Appreciate it, man. Stan's first post was a good one. Put out that snow globe. Man.
Oh, that snow globe. That's like over 10 years old. That thing is expensive as anything now.
How much is it? What does it go for?
I can't find it on eBay. It's been years since I've seen it on eBay, and I like at least once a month I check to see what the most expensive Darkwing items are, and I have not seen that snow globe in a long time.
So
that must be.
They don't want to give it up. People don't want to let it go.
you'd be really insane to sell that thing. I had a chance at it over a decade ago for like a smart price, but I never bought it. I wouldn't want to try to get one of those things now. For those who don't know what we're talking about, it's a Darkwing Duck snow globe, but it's specifically referencing Darkly Dawns the Duck. It's got Taurus Bulba holding Goslin all tied up right from the episode. I think it was a Disney Store item, so I think we're going back at least a decade on it.
Oh, man. It looks really cool. Like you said, you can't find it, so that means the people who have it don't want to get rid of it. They want it. They want it, and
I wouldn't.
I'm assuming if it does go up, that means maybe they're having financial issues or just so like that's the only thing I can see.
Or you don't know what you've got.
Or you don't know what you got. But so Stan gets a shout out. I also want to give a shout out to our homegirl Lynette. I'm not gonna try your last name, Lynette. Sorry.
She has a long name.
Yeah, she has a long one, but I'll give a shout out. And another shout out again to the YouTubers, man. Y'all are growing. Y'all are showing mad love, and I really, really appreciate it. I'm sure Mike does too.
Yeah, of course. I love seeing the comments. There's a lot. Last few episodes, we've got a ton of comments right away. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, and for you YouTubers, man, who listen, who check us out, if you can, if you know anybody who enjoys Darkwing, even just mildly, man, just recommend us to them, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, give us, yeah, by all means, give us a plug. Really appreciate that, man. But Mike, what we got going on today? What are we talking about?
Well, just when we thought we'd never see Comet Guy again, he's back. The episode we're talking about today is called Planet of the Capes. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to know where that title came from.
A sci-fi movie with monkeys or something?
A planet where apes evolved from men? Planet of the Apes, Planet of the Capes. So yeah, that's this is our next Comet Guy episode. Thankfully, it's our last Comet Guy episode.
Yeah, man. Let's not talk about a Tim Burton one though.
No, just give me the originals.
Mm-hmm.
You blew it up. Okay, so let's just dive into this one, shall we?
All right. So what's our production and air date, man?
So this one aired Wednesday, November 27th, 1991. That would make it its air date one day before Thanksgiving. I will mention this because I'm taking a big shot in the dark. I'm probably going to strike zero on this one. But if anybody recorded this episode or Disguise the Limit when they first aired, please check your tapes, because if you go on YouTube, you'll see they created special Christmas and Halloween commercials for the Disney afternoon shows that year with Darkwing and all the characters. They did a Thanksgiving one that week with all the characters at Drake's house, Scrooge, Baloo, all of them having Thanksgiving dinner together. It isn't on YouTube. I haven't seen it in almost 30 years. But if it's anywhere, it's on the tapes of anybody who has these episodes when they first aired. Shot in the dark, you never know. But yeah, this one aired the week of Thanksgiving, and it was the 57th in production order, so kind of late.
Mm-hmm.
So our story editor this week is Steve Roberts again. This is one of his lesser ones. I don't think it's as bad as the Quack of Ages, which he also was story editor on. But I guess they can't all be Life the Negaverse and everything. And yes, Will?
No, go ahead.
And our writers were Ellen Sfacco and Colleen Tabor. They were good Quackerjack writers. They wrote his first two episodes. I know I've mentioned that. Quackerjack actually pops up in this one, in the least expected place. This is their third show. It's the third out of four, so we're almost done with them. And animation-wise, this one went to Disney Japan, but it didn't go to the Thomas studio. This went back to Jade. That studio did Smarter Than a Speeding Bullet, so it did both of the Comet Guy shows. And the animation is, even though it came from Japan, I can't say it's all that great. What do you think of it?
I don't like it at all.
Yeah, the animation's a little all over the place right in this one. There's a couple of animation mistakes I'll mention. It gets better as the episode goes on, but the first like act or so is not good. You'd expect better from Japan.
Yeah. I mean, I don't hate the animation, but I guess because of the episode, I just don't like it, man. I
Yeah,
just don't like this episode. I don't like everything's bland to me. We'll get into that later,
yeah.
man.
The writing is weak enough that even good animation probably couldn't have saved this one. At least that's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
So let's start our plot.
All right, we get going. We got Comet Guy. He's bouncing around in space like a pinball machine. He's bouncing around, hitting planets, and then he lands on Earth.
That thing with the planets and pinball machine. We've seen that before, haven't we? Battle of the Brain Teaser started the exact same way with the exact same sound effects. Okay, so yes, continue, Will.
All right, he lands on Earth, and then we got Darkwing who's watching TV, but he's trying to be sneaky with what he's watching, though, huh?
Yeah. We see a side of Darkwing on this one we haven't seen before. He's watching girls in bikinis at the beach.
Yeah.
I think he goes past them, right? And then goes back to them again. And that's where he says, some vices require particularly close attention. I think if Morgana was there, she would have hit him.
Oh, yeah. But then, as he's looking at the cameras and saying Canard, he sees buildings are shaking, the ground is shaking, and he knows who it is.
Master of migraines, Comet Guy himself.
Yeah.
Oh,
God.
I know. I'm sorry. But Comet Guy's looking for Darkwing.
Yep. So Darkwing wants to go out there and find Comet before he destroys St. Canard.
Yeah, because he tears a building up by its foundation as a woman in the shower in a tub. And Darkwing, like he has to go stop him and save his reputation.
Yeah.
So what happens? What does Comet Guy have to tell Darkwing?
He tells him that he has to take him to Mertz. He doesn't really tell him why quite yet, though.
Yeah, he just tells him there's trouble on Mertz and he has to come right away.
And then Comet Guy, tells him the whole planet depends on him. And DW's ego is, boosting up, like, because he feels needed.
Yeah. Best way to get Darkwing on your side is to play on his ego. And Comet Guy takes Darkwing, stuffs him in his little spaceship hat, and the two of them head to Mertz.
Yep. And so arriving on Mertz, DW, they have a parade for him. He's loving it.
Yeah, this is where the animation gets really messy because there's all these people on the parade route. There's a ticker tape parade, and the Darkwing is in a moving car, and the animation is so bad. And then he realizes it's not ticker tape, it's adhesive tape. And they cut to a close-up of his hand with the tape all over it, but his hand is painted like a human being with a brown coat sleeve. So they really screwed up. And Comet Guy says the only reason they use the adhesive tape is because it's easier to clean up, which doesn't make sense at all. But then again, Comet Guy's a moron, so I guess it's okay. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So what happens next, Will?
All right. Darkwing is told the most important guy of Mertz is missing. So Darkwing thinks he's there because he's on the case to find him.
Yes, we have a couple of new characters. Actually, we have 3 new characters. 2 of them we meet now. One of them is the official guy of Planet Mertz. A big, strong-looking guy like Comet Guy. He was voiced by Dorian Harewood. He was born in 1950. He was in Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, I love him in Full Metal
Yeah,
Jacket.
I know you told me you liked that movie. He was in the ABC series Strike Force. He was announcer for NBC for a while, and Disney used him on Goof Troop, Bonkers, Aladdin, Gargoyles, and Quack Pack. The most interesting voiceover info I found of him, he subbed for Shredder when James Avery couldn't do it in the original Ninja Turtle show. I can hear it in that voice.
Yeah.
It's nice. We do have a person of color in a Darkwing episode, voiced by someone who is also black, which is really nice.
Yeah, minority power, baby.
Well, it's nice. How many African American characters are even on Darkwing Duck? There's no humans.
Yeah.
So when they finally do bring one in, they cast a black actor, which is, especially relevant now. He's just called the official guy. There's also a female who doesn't have a name, She's Maggie Roswell. I mentioned her in Tiff of the Titans. She voiced a couple of characters there. Really quick for anyone who didn't watch that episode, she was the voice of many female characters on The Simpsons for about 10 years before she quit that show. And they killed off her main character, Maud Flanders, out of spite. So Maggie Roswell voices the female character. And they give Darkwing a key to the city. And the other shoe drops, Will. Why is Darkwing really there?
Ordinary Guy is missing.
Ordinary Guy is missing, and Darkwing realizes to his horror that every person on Mertz is a superhero. Every single one. Because he's given the key to the city, he almost falls over, and then all of them tear off their costumes and go to save him.
Yeah. Well, he finds out the bad news that he's there to replace Ordinary Guy.
Yeah, he thinks he's there to find him until they tell him, you are Ordinary Guy. And Darkwing's just like, nope, not doing it. Nuh-uh, no way. And they get their way by crying. So all the superheroes on Mertz are just as obnoxious as Comet Guy. Really, really. And then we get this whole thing, which is like, this goes on forever, Will. They're like, well, you're an ordinary guy. You have no powers. Comic Guy told us you're not a superhero. You have no superpowers. And Darkwing keeps trying to prove he has powers. And they're like, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? And Darkwing's like, he's making up excuses. Oh, no, I have a hangnail. Oh, no, I can't do that. And, oh, man, this goes on forever. But Darkwing has no powers. And he's trying to say, you don't need powers to be a hero. But they don't buy it. They just want him to be Ordinary Guy. He finally gives in, doesn't he?
Yeah, he says he'll stick around for a few days and he'll just have a vacation,
I guess Goslin doesn't matter, huh?
I guess not.
See, my brain is wired in a certain way. He's all the way in outer space. He says he's going to stay for a few days. What's going on back home? Are all the supervillains having a party?
Yeah.
But really quick, they rip off his costume. They throw Ordinary Guy's clothes on him. He looks ridiculous. I do like his line. He goes, what? No pocket protector? Go ahead, Will.
No, I was just going to say, and then, like he thinks he's on vacation and he's relaxing, enjoying the view. But it doesn't go like that. That's how he hopes. But
he realizes Ordinary Guy's life was a living hell because of these guys.
Yeah, the heroes just annoy him on everything, from what was the first thing when he was at the pool and they were creating waves for him.
Well, no, they were blocking the sun so he wouldn't get a sunburn.
Yeah, they were blocking the sun, creating waves. He fell over. What happened next? Then it was the banana peel. Yeah.
Yes, and then Comic Guy jumps on the sidewalk so hard it throws Darkwing up in the air.
Yeah, but then we get a sneak peek of someone though after the banana peel, or is that a little bit later?
That's a little bit later. Don't worry, we're getting there. And then
he's trying to cross the street.
Yes, and my question is, why do these guys even have cars if they can fly?
And I didn't want to get there yet. I was just going to explain some of the things that I felt very wrong with this episode. If they all have superpowers, like why do they have cars and why are they all getting beat up when they're trying to help them cross the street?
Yeah, this Comic Guy is like smashing the cars and throwing them into piles. What's happening to the people in those cars?
Yeah, but they don't show that, so like that was, yeah,
not at all. And Darkwing's like, I don't need help, and then he immediately falls down a manhole. And so he's fed up, like really fed up, and he's like, I have to go find the original sap. I have to get out of here. Yeah. He builds a dummy of himself, puts it at the very top of a building, and tricks them into like he's like, help, I'm gonna fall. And they're like, oh, Ordinary Guy, we have to save you. And he's like, no, don't save me. I might fall to my untimely demise. And then he steps off the other side of the building and falls. And no one's there to catch him.
Nah, but he's lucky he bounced off a few things and then he landed on the ground.
This is what I love about Darkwing. The act ends with him falling as if, oh no, Darkwing's gonna die. But when the second act starts, he still crashes and he's fine because he's Darkwing Duck.
Yeah.
But this is when we get that scene. This is when we get a little foreshadowing. What do we see?
We see somebody in the background. We know it's Jim's voice, but we don't quite see who it is yet, though.
Yeah, it's Jim doing a maniacal laugh, basically. Telling Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was gonna say, sounds like a little Negaduck.
Yeah, this is like Jim Cummings' stock supervillain laugh, and he says to Darkwing, "This is only a taste of what you have coming."
Yeah.
I wonder who this guy is.
We'll get there though. We'll get there.
We will get there. So, Comet Guy saves Darkwing. A little too late, but he shows up, and he's like, "Don't you have anything better to do?" And that's when Comet Guy says, "Like foiling supervillains?" Light bulb goes off in Darkwing's head. Okay, so I can make Comet Guy into a supervillain. Next up is my favorite scene, and I know you were probably excited too.
Yeah, I was excited for about 10, 15 seconds.
Yeah, but it's something.
Yeah.
He's given Comet Guy a supervillain lesson using a slideshow of different villains.
Did you notice what episodes these slides come from?
This slide is actually from a very specific episode. Yeah. Who's the first villain he shows Comet Guy?
Quackerjack.
Okay, first two things work about this. It's what Darkwing says. He goes, "Take this guy, Quackerjack. He's what we call a real sicko." Go ahead, write that down, sicko. But what's even funnier is the slide she shows. Describe the slides and what episode they're from.
I can't say it right now. Toys R Us.
Yeah, just say Toys R Us. And what's happening in the slide?
It's the slide with the puppy where he gives it to the little kid.
But the drawing of Quackerjack's face, he's got this big open mouth smile, like he looks so demented. And I mean, that's all we see. It's just a quick shout out to Quackerjack, but I do like that he's in it. And then the next slide is not a supervillain. Darkwing goes, "It's a master of villainy," but what is the slide?
It was him.
It's him at the Christmas party with a party hat on his butt and a noisemaker in his mouth and a lampshade on his head. And the true master of villainy, though, is
Megavolt.
Oh yeah, Megavolt, and that makes Comet Guy fire his his fire blast right through the wall. Next up is an evil villain laughter lesson. That's how that doesn't go very well, does it?
No, but we do hear somebody in the background perfect it.
We hear that Jim Cummings laugh again. And Darkwing thinks that's Comet Guy. Like, by Jove, I think he's got it. And this is another scene I do enjoy. It's basically a death trap lesson where he needs Comet Guy to like act like a villain and leave him to his death as a villain would do.
Yeah.
So
he ties him up and he puts him on that machine and he tells him no mercy. Show him no mercy.
It's a machine designed to re-scramble your molecular atoms. It's going to re-scramble Darkwing's atoms. And Darkwing's like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." But then Comet Guy turns it on and isn't going to show mercy like you said. Comet Guy does have a great line. He says, he basically quotes something Darkwing had told him. He says, "The villain leaves his victims to a fate worse than death. Pay attention, you big ape." Which means at some point, I just love the implication, at some point as Darkwing was trying to teach him, Darkwing said to Comet Guy, "Pay attention, you big ape." And Comet Guy is so stupid, he thought it was part of the instruction. So Comet Guy leaves, and all the other heroes show up and knock him right into the machine. When Darkwing comes out the other side, do you remember what he looked like?
He looked like the painting from that one episode, Brush with Oblivion.
Yeah, it's Pablo Picasso Darkwing. Falls right out of the machine. And, Darkwing is done. This isn't going to happen. He can't turn Comet Guy into a villain. But then our actual real villain shows up finally.
Yep. It's Ordinary Guy.
It is. We finally meet Ordinary Guy, who is basically pencil-necked geek with buck teeth and a goofy suit. And he's wearing a big cape and a colander on his head with a ear of corn stuck in it to make himself look imposing. But he's just a big nerd.
Yes, but we hear Jim's voice one last time, and then another voice kicks in, Mike.
Yes. Ordinary Guy was voiced by a man named Rob Palillo, who was born in 1949. He passed away in 2012 from a heart attack. He is, I think, most well known from playing Horshack in Welcome Back, Kotter.
Oh, for real?
Yes, that's what he's most well known for.
I did not know that was Horshack.
That's Horshack.
Oh man, last time I saw Horseshack was on a celebrity boxing. He was fighting Screech.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he got his butt
Oh
kicked really bad
God,
though.
Screech, that guy. He was a Broadway actor as well. He directed plays, taught freshman drama. Till the end of his life, he died. He passed away a little early. I think he was in his 60s. That's way too young to go.
Yeah.
But he gives Ordinary Guy a very nerdy voice, a
Mhm.
whiny, nerdy voice. Ordinary Guy is calling himself Not So Ordinary Guy. And he has a ray gun. We sure have seen a lot of ray guns last few episodes, haven't we?
Yeah.
This is like our third one in a row.
Mhm.
Um, so the ray gun is designed to suck out your strength.
Mhm.
Does he use the gun?
Oh, he uses it immediately and shoots all the heroes.
Yep, everybody loses their strength and they cannot fight back.
Yeah. They all get beat up, and then even more heroes show up, man. And
Zaps every single one.
yeah, and then we finally get your entrance, Mike.
Yeah,
DW.
Darkwing finally gets an entrance. It is I am the ham radio that scrambles your reception. But Darkwing gets nothing done because Ordinary Guy shoots the platform he's standing on. And when Darkwing falls, he crashes into the gun.
Yeah.
Comet Guy Ordinary Guy puts it back together, fires it, and accidentally shoots himself.
Yeah, in reverse.
In reverse. This is where I think the episode kind of gets fun. I do like what happens for the remainder of the episode. It gives him super strength. It also increases his size.
Mm-hmm.
What we basically get now is a big reference to an old Tex Avery cartoon. It's gotta be. There's no way it's not. Let me describe this cartoon. Maybe you've seen it. It's called King Size Canary. In this cartoon, a cat wants to eat a bird, but the bird is too tiny. It doesn't make a good meal. But the cat finds this plant growth formula. He feeds it to the bird, and the bird grows huge. For the rest of the episode, the bird, the cat, the mouse, the dog keep drinking this formula that never ends. It's a tiny bottle, but it lasts forever. They're getting bigger and bigger, running around the city until finally the mouse and the cat are so big they can stand on the earth.
No,
And the cartoon ends with them saying, "Hey, we just ran out of the stuff. Good night," and the cartoon ends. That's pretty much how this episode ends too.
Mm-hmm.
Darkwing and Ordinary Guy pretty much are running around the city, zapping each other, getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, until what happens?
They're so big, they're in space.
They're standing on Mertz.
Mm-hmm.
And say goodbye to the heroes. We don't see them again. They're gone. They don't matter anymore. So kiss Comet Guy goodbye. We're never going to see him again. So the two of them fight in outer space, basically. It's actually pretty clever. Darkwing bonks Ordinary Guy with the Big Dipper, and then uses a crescent moon as a boomerang.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a cool fight. How do we end, Will?
Basically, Ordinary Guy, he gets shrunk. DW hits him with the stars, and then the moon. I'm trying to remember. He catches him in the hand.
And that's it?
And that was it. I remember he showed something with his cape. His cape had holes in it. And then
he looks at his cape. He goes, I wonder if there's a big and tall outlet in this galaxy.
Yeah.
And we end. It ends pretty much the same way the Tex Avery cartoon ends. He's giant. He's big enough to stand on a planet. We don't know how he's going to get back to normal. The cartoon's over. Yeah. And that's it. This episode just ends.
Mm-hmm.
All
right. So Mike, what do you think about it overall, man?
It's not as good as the first Comet Guy episode. At least that one had Steelbeak and Launchpad in it. Mm-hmm. This one, literally, the only reoccurring character in it is Darkwing, and he's being pulled out of his element. So it's really odd. This is a really strange episode. I don't think either of us like Smarter Than a Speeding Bullet very much, but this one's definitely weaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, this episode had several flaws, that did make sense. We described the car scene. When they tried to explain that they all had to wear disguises, but why were they all wearing the same exact disguises?
The only reason to do that was to fake out Darkwing, even though it makes no sense.
Yeah, that made zero sense to me. I just didn't get what they didn't even explain. How did Ordinary Guy become ordinary when everybody else had superpowers?
Yeah, did they capture him from Earth?
Yeah, so like they never explained that, so like I really felt this episode had a lot of flaws. And what do they do all day? Like, do they not go to work? Do they not earn a living? Like, all they did was just stalk Darkwing because he was the new ordinary guy.
Yeah, and smarter than a speeding bullet, presented Comet Guy as what you would think would be the stupidest person on the planet, while everybody else is competent. But everybody on this planet's an idiot.
Yeah.
So it's like that doesn't even make sense in regards to what we've seen already with this character.
For a kid, I could see them liking it one time, all the flying, the scene of a superpower, seeing these buff guys and
The
buff
ending is
girl. The ending's okay. You get a little astrology in there, the Big Dipper. You get to see Saturn shrink. You see the
they
crescent
shrink
moon.
Saturn.
Yeah, he shrunk Saturn, so there is a little bit in there I can see for kids. I think grown-ups, they're going to pass, man. I think they're going to have a hard time watching it.
I think that thing on the first act with, oh, you have no powers. Oh, yes, I do. That goes on for way too long, too.
So overall, man, how many gas gun canisters are you giving this episode?
I want to be fair, but I don't think I really need to. And even the animation can't really save it. Although there are some scenes where I think Darkwing's drawn really well and has some good expressions. But I'm gonna give it a 1.5.
Okay.
Because you'll watch it. I mean, us hardcore Darkwing fans will probably watch it a few times. I mean, Lord knows I have. But for anybody who's just casual, you're gonna watch it once, and you're probably never gonna watch it ever again. So a 1.5.
1.5? Hey,
Yeah.
You're more generous than I am. I'm giving it a 1. I don't like the episode. There's certain parts, like I said earlier, that don't make sense. There was a few times I laughed, so I will boost it up a little bit. The villain,
Pretty forgettable.
yeah, he's forgettable. He had one good thing about him where you could really call him a villain, where he took the powers out of the heroes, but for somebody that's ordinary like Darkwing, he really couldn't handle Darkwing because Darkwing had the gadgets. He didn't rely on his powers,
Can you really blame him for holding a grudge, though?
Oh, no, not at all. Like, he had every right to be upset.
In the one day we saw Darkwing suffer, can you imagine if that was your entire existence?
Yeah,
go
ahead.
Darkwing argues, you don't see me turning evil, but Darkwing only endured it for like one day. You kind of feel bad for this guy, but not really. Even should we rate him?
Yeah, we gotta rate him. We rated everybody, so we gotta rate him.
This time you start.
Okay, for me, I think I'm gonna be more generous than you. I'm gonna give him a 1.5 because the Jim Cumming laughters and the foreshadowing really kind of builds it up. Like, who the heck is this? If it's your first time watching it, you're kind of curious who this guy is, because with the foreshadowing, you hear the Negaduck laughter, you see his shadow, and his shadow makes him look huge. You're like, whoa, I can't wait to see who this villain's gonna be, So so they build him up, the hype him up, and then when he comes in, he immediately takes out the powers of the superhero. So you're like, oh man, this dude ain't no joke. But then once Darkwing gets the ray gun and they go back and forth, you're like, okay.
It's basically Darkwing fighting a nerd.
Yeah, so it was like
it's a little one-sided.
Yeah, it was really too easy. So I'll give him a 1.5, man.
I'll just co-sign you on that one. I'll give him a 1.5 as well. I mean, it's clever. It's clever enough. That he isn't like trench rot territory or little. Yeah, I'm going to compare him to trench rot. He's not that bad.
I'm really shocked. I did not think you would give him a 1.5. I thought you were going to give him like a 0.5 or a 1. I'm really shocked.
I'm saving the truly terrible scores for a couple of other villains down the line.
Okay.
I can't quite knock this guy too much.
Okay. All right. So you got anything else you want to talk about with Planet of the Capes, the villains or the heroes or anything?
No, it's
you're ready to move on.
I'm ready. Yeah, I am ready to move on. This one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm good with this one.
Okay, so that's enough of Planet of the Capes, Mike. What do we have next?
Okay, so we have to say goodbye next week. Next week is our last ABC episode. For a while, the season is ending.
Okay, which one?
It's our last Disney Australia episode too. It's Merchant of Menace. It's Herb Muddlefoot's finest hour.
You love this episode, don't you?
I really do love this episode. I think it's an extremely underrated episode. And I think we may have a guest on this one, but as always, I don't like promising things because
You never
you
know.
never know. You never know. But we might have a guest, but we'll wait and see. It's a good episode. We'd see a lot of Herb Muddlefoot and Grizzly Cough. I think it's Grizzly Cough's best episode too. But say no more. Catch up with us next week for the Merchant of Menace.
Okay. So this is just our last Saturday morning season 1 episode, but not our last season 1 episode, right?
No, we have plenty of season 1 episodes, but Merchant of Menace is our last ABC season Saturday morning episode until season 2 comes along.
Okay, so we go, oh man, I like the Saturday morning ones. They're pretty good.
I know. Like I always say, ABC somehow got a hold of all the good ones.
All right, so Mike, man, we'll get ready for that one. I know you really like that one. Anything you want to say before we head out, man? We got a little extra time. This one's pretty short, man.
It's an episode that doesn't really need much description. Well, I can say anybody who wants to can join our Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter communities. Please be a part of our community. Join our Zoom chats every Saturday night. Hopefully, those will continue even as the world opens back up. Hopefully, let's keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And anything you want to say, Will?
I just want to say that Zoom chat, man, it's getting bigger and bigger, man. Every other week or every week, we get new people wanting to join us, man. So
it's an interesting mix. People come and go.
Yeah, and just for those of you who are curious about it, we don't just talk Darkwing. Sometimes we hardly even bring up Darkwing. We don't even just always talk cartoons. Sometimes we talk about I don't know. I'm just gonna say random things we talked about. We talk about movies, favorite directors. We'll talk about music. Sometimes
merchandise, or just our lives.
Yeah,
we've all been talking for so long that a lot of us are friends. We just chat about our lives at this point.
Make fun of Felicia and Mike because they're the 2 oldest ones in the group. But Felicia gets it the worst, though. I always go after her.
She doesn't care.
Nah, she doesn't care. I don't think you care at all either.
No.
But like we're saying, we joke around and stuff. It's fun, man. We used to watch an episode or 2 of Darkwing before we started to chat, but we kind of calmed down with that.
It was hard for all of us to stream it at the same time and keep up the quality. Yeah. It wasn't worth losing a half an hour of talk.
Yeah, so if you need a break and just want to hang out, you're tired of being in your house and you can't go nowhere, you just want to meet some new people, come hang out with us. There's no restriction. You can leave after 30 minutes if you want, 10 minutes, 2 hours, 4 hours.
All you have to do is message Will, let him know you want to do it, and he'll get you in.
Yeah. So that's it, man, guys. Let's wrap up this episode. We're kind of stalling here, but that's just the way it goes sometimes.
What is there to say about Comet Guy, though? I mean,
I'm glad we're moving on, man.
Yeah, he was an idea that just didn't work out.
All right.
Oh my God. I know.
All right, but guys, that's enough for us on this episode, and make sure you guys tune in some more. Click the subscribe button, click the like button, click the follow button, comment back, share, whatever. Even if you want to join us, shoot us a message. Maybe we can, maybe we can't. I don't know.
A lot of the best episodes are already spoken for, but you never know. So contact us.
Yeah. All right, guys. So stay dangerous.
Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.